Hi, my name is Ariba and this is Books and Kids. And today I'm doing my September wrap up. I'm filming this a few days before September ends because I had to return a few copies to the library. There's a lot of noise outside, but I'm trying to talk as loudly as possible so that you can hear everything. I read a total of 10 books, and overall, this is a very good month for reading for me. I got a lot of 4 stars, and I'm just gonna get started. So, the first book that I'm going to talk about is The Skies Everywhere by Jandy Nelson. Jandy Nelson is also popular for another book which is called I'll Give You the Sun. The Skies Everywhere is about a girl whose sister has had a sudden death, and she is going through a very rough time, obviously, and she falls in love with her sister's fiance, as well as this new boy who joins her school and who's also plays an instrument like her. This is it's a YA. It's very sweet. There are in the middle of it there are these notes that you see throughout that she's actually writing on, where she writes anecdotes about her sister and her, and she leaves them on various places and they talk about them. Uh, it's very well written. There are moments where you can actually feel the pain that she's going through. Jenny Nelson has done a very good job of depicting that. However, I felt that the story was very disconnected. There were times when I felt that she was very connected to the pain of her sisters, but then there were times I felt that all she was thinking about was was her love interest, and she was conflicted between. I think this was done purposefully because they wanted to show how it's not one emotion, it's not one thing that you're going through when you face uh, something like a loss of a loved one. But I wasn't sure with the turn that this book took. I wish there was more depth. I was more interested in the loss that she felt for her sister than anything else. Even though I understood how why she felt for the sister's fiance, and I didn't understand. I won't go into the spoiler, but I wasn't really convinced by the way that things resolved. Let's put it this way. I gave it a 2 out of 5. Now, this book is actually very popular. It was released in 2010. People really like it, so maybe I'm the unpopular opinion on this one. Moving on, I'm going to talk about Don't Point That. You can't see the title, but Don't Point That Thing at Me by Kyril Bonfigliaro. I can't even pronounce that. This was released in 1972. This is a comedy crime book story. It's actually a series, and there's a movie on it with Johnny Depp and Gwyneth Paltrow, I believe, and that's called Mordecai, which is named after the art dealer. Yeah, the art dealer, the main Charlie Mordecai. It's named after him. I did not finish this book. I felt that it was being purposefully funny, and I just couldn't get round to finishing it. Like I started it and I read, you can see my bookmark. I read 50 pages in it. It's a very thin book. It's just 165 pages, but I just couldn't read it. I thought it was being purposefully funny, and I didn't get the purpose of the character. What was the character seeking? What was the character after? I wasn't clear on that. So left this book. Now I'm gonna go on to my 3 star reads. I read Our Tragic Universe by Scarlett Thomas. This was a very interesting book because it was about so many things. This is about a writer, a Meg Carpenter, who is going through a tough patch in her relationship. She's questioning her purpose in life. She's a novelist who hasn't written a novel. She a novel of her choice. She does write, but she writes under this whole popular fiction genre. She's very philosophical. There's a lot of philosophy in it, a lot of theories. They're very interesting to read. I managed to finish this book. Even though they were like a mix of philosophies, I didn't really know what this book was about even after finishing it, except that she's at a point in her life where she's questioning everything. This is what you would call literary fiction, but I felt that it was too much. It was overwhelming. And I was never really into Meg Carpenter. I was just never into her because there were so many theories. There was so much going on that I never really felt her. And I felt in the middle of the book when her relationship dissolves and she starts living on her own, she just completely transforms for me. This is a very this is a book that makes you think a lot because there has a lot of interesting theories. I wish that she had given each theory a book rather than putting all of them in this. This was released in 2010, I believe, yes. And yeah, 3 out of 5. Then I read Terry McMillan's Who Asked You? This was also released in 2000. This was released in 2013. This is this has a very this is again a drama novel. It's about a woman who is constantly her name is Betty, and she is going through picking up everyone's burden. She has a lot of burden on her shoulders, and she raised her 3 kids. She's taking care of her invalid husband. Her 3 kids are not settled, let's put it this way, and she gets in possession of her grandsons because the daughter sort of leaves them with her, and she's trying to take care of them. She's trying to hold on to a job that she doesn't like, a career that she doesn't like. She's a very strong willed woman, and I loved her voice. I loved her character. I loved the way she just kept going on with her life. I loved her character. I loved her voice. It was so powerful. It overthrew everyone else, and no one is important. And every chapter, even when it was not about her, even when it was not on her from her perspective, was talking about her. She was so important. She was the star of the show, and you can see that. I love that about this book. But I wasn't convinced by the resolution. I felt like it was too simple and too abrupt and too easy for me. I wish there was more to the ending. I wish there was, and I understood why that ending was there. I just wasn't convinced of it because I felt that this book was so raw, so real, and it just sort of didn't do that for me at the end. Uh, 3 out of 5, though I wanted to give it a 4 so much. Next book, I'm going to talk about Saga. Now, Saga is a graphic novel series, and I believe there are 8 novels to it. I picked up the first one, and I didn't like it. I don't have nothing in opposition to graphic novels. I do pick them up, not very often. I'm not a graphic novel reader, but I had heard such great things about it. I wanted to pick it up. This is about 2 people who are from different opposing planets, and they are in the same army, and so they get together, and they're supposed to actually fight with each other, but they fall in love, and then they get married, and then they have a child, and the whole book is about protecting that child. There were just too many grotesque creatures in the book. There was too much of nudity, too many things that I was not comfortable with, and I thought came in the way of storytelling. Uh, that I wasn't entirely sure that I would enjoy the series. I read it in one sitting because it's a graphic novel, and it was, well, it something kept happening. Uh, but I'm not going to continue with the series. 3 out of 5 from me. Another popular series, by the way. Then I read The Interpreter of Maladies. This is another book that I read, which is actually post the 21st, no, pre 21st century. Otherwise, most of my books are post 21st century. This is The Interpreter of Maladies by Jhumpa Lahiri. I read three of the short stories in it. I didn't read all of them. And the reason for that is I loved the first one, Mr. P. Zada Comes to Dine. And the other two, I couldn't get on board with. So this was released in 1999. This is what I would call a diversity short story collection where she talks about the the effects of being an outsider, the effects of being a South Asian, because that in itself is a very strong topic. So I read When Mr. P. Zada Came to Dine. I gave that a 5 out of 5. I loved that story. The characters, the detailing, uh, the way she has just made it. I loved it. But then I read Ariel Durwan. I read Interpreter of Maladies, and they just didn't cut it for me. They lost it somewhere along the way. So I stopped reading it, which is quite sad. But yeah, I think there are going to be other short stories that are going to be good, just as good as Mr. P. Zada Comes to Dine. She has a great voice. She has a great voice for details. She has a great voice to make the moments linger, to let them hang. And I just need to give her, just need to be in the mood for it. I read Fangirl by Rainbow Royale 2013. This is my first book by Rainbow Royale. It's an adult, it's an adult genre fiction. This, I know people don't really like at first, but I really liked this book. I thought it was really nice. I love the character of Kat. I loved, I loved all the characters except for Kat's sister because I felt like that was very much a clean sheet character. Other than that, I liked all of them. I liked the tidbits of literature that she's thrown in from Simon Snow. I loved all of those. I felt like they added to the story. I loved their relationship with their father. I loved the way it went. It was a thick book. I don't think it had to be this thick. It was 400 pages, I believe. But I finished it quite quickly and I didn't feel the length of it. But I do understand that it was a thick book. It could be thinner. It could be a 300-page book and just have the same effect. I did like it though. I gave it a 4 out of 5. Nice, sweet characters, a nice, lively read. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I'm going to continue with Rainbow Rowell, by the way. I'm going to pick up more books. So, I'm currently reading The Dream Thieves, book 2 of the Raven Cycles. I've read The Raven Boys, and now I'm reading The Dream Thieves, and I love it. I am more than midway across it. And this is, I'm not going to talk about this cycle much because I think if you want to know about the cycle, you should watch Books and Lala. She loves the cycle, and the reason why I continued with it was because of her. She highly recommends it. The first book that I read, I wasn't like she talked about it. She said the first book isn't as interesting. The second book actually goes further on. It's a paranormal genre fiction, young adult. Yes. Very interesting. It's about friendship. It's about paranormal stuff, and I love the relationships like she talked about. I love her writing style. I love Maggie Stiefvater's writing style, and I'm going to continue with the series. And unless she gives a very bad plot ending, this is a 4 out of 5 for me. Now for the gem of my reading. I love this series, and I'm going to do a full review on it. Even though the full series isn't out, I just loved it. This is my first encounter with Victoria Schwab. And the first book in the series, this is a Shades of Magic series, and the first book in the series is A Darker Shade of Magic. And then the second book is called A Gathering of Shadows. And I picked up these books. These are fantasy adult series, and I fell in love. I've never liked a fantasy book in my life so much as I've liked these. And I was carrying this book like this. After I finished reading it, I was so much in love with it. And the very day when I finished this book, I went ahead and bought the other one. And now I can't wait for this third one. I am in love with the series. I'm going to go do a full review later on. But yeah, it got This book got a 4.5 out of 5, and this book got a 5 out of 5 from me. Uh, this is from 2015, this is from 2016, and next book will come in 2017. Thank you for the September wrap up. I hope you enjoyed the video, hope you got something out of it, and talk to you later.